We're back today. I'm back in the seat talking about Wrexham Football Club, and I'm back rolling out the videos for you at home. Today we have got a special one. We're going to be looking at the in-depth details of the new sponsorship with Firefox, the details behind that, how much money they're pumping into Wrexham Football Club and how it has shocked a lot of people in terms of the valuation of this sponsorship. We're also going to be looking at a potential signing of an Argentine defender, which looks to be in the pipeline, could be happening in the next week or so. We're going to be looking at that, and we're also going to be looking at manager Phil Parkinson's stance as Wrexham is still yet to make a signing in the summer transfer window and how he's told fans not to panic. So before we get going in today's video, I say it every video, make sure to get down there and click that subscribe button if you are looking for the best Wrexham AFC content on YouTube. It's coming your way. It's been coming consistently over the past couple of months, and it will continue to do so right up until the start of the championship season. So if that's what you're looking for, it's absolutely free to subscribe. Please consider doing so. Let's as well go for 250 likes on today's video, and without further ado, let's get talking first on what you've clicked on this video to see, the details regarding the new Firefox deal. So as every Wrexham fan will know by now, a couple of weeks ago we saw the agreement with Firefox to become our official front of shirt sponsor. The web browser replaced United Airlines, who were at the club between 2023 and as recent as the championship season just gone in 2026. Now this deal raised a lot of questions and a lot of debate amongst the Wrexham fan base as to how much this deal was actually going to be worth, because as we know, Firefox is a non-profit organisation, and I for one was wondering how much this would be worth, because we saw the money that United Airlines were pumping into this sponsorship deal and were pumping into the club in the final year of the contract. They were reportedly paying between £5 to £6 million in that final season of the agreement. Now compare that to the first year in League 2, it was around £400,000. So there's been a big spike in terms of the sponsorship price that Wrexham do hold it at, and I think it was a lot of questions regarding me as well. I was thinking, is this really going to be worth as much as we're expecting? We did see the letter from Ryan and Rob. It sort of seemed like they were doing Firefox a favour. They both said it was an underdog story, and it kind of was going on the lines of, it's not about the money, this one. It's about, you know, two worlds coming together, similar ambitions, but it seems as if I was proved completely wrong. Now before we get talking about the ins and outs of this deal, football finance expert Kieran Maguire has said the average front of shirt sponsor in the championship is worth in the hundreds of thousands, some even worth in the tens of thousands. That is so important to note before we get talking on how much this Wrexham deal is actually worth with Firefox. If we're looking at what Kieran Maguire said, brace yourselves, because this is an anomaly for the championship. This has never been seen before in the championship. He confirmed that the deal between Wrexham and Firefox to become the front of shirt sponsor for the next 3 years is going to be worth £10 million a year at minimum. That number could rise to £20 million, his estimate, and I think he's probably the person that we can take his word off the most in terms of the football industry and especially the football finance experts. He thinks it's going to be between £10 and £20 million this year. That is absolutely ridiculous, and when I say that is unheard of for a club that's only been in the championship for one full season, it is ludicrous, and it does show the global reach that Wrexham does have. And he also described the deal with Firefox, the numbers in terms of this deal being light years ahead of anyone else in the championship. So we can sort of understand now that Wrexham has the highest retail and sponsorship income in the whole of the EFL, which is absolutely crazy to say because we've got some massive names in this league now. And it does just show, like I said, the global reach of Wrexham Football Club and the sponsorship price that Ryan and Rob can hold this football club at. And if promotion is secured to the Premier League this season, Kieran Maguire has said this number could substantially rise. If we're looking at what that number could be, you could be looking at £30-40 million, but it's a long way away yet. Wrexham gets into the Premier League. Not a long way, but we've got a long season ahead of us. We could really reap the rewards of that, of potentially going up to the Premier League, by looking at some of the numbers that Wrexham could generate. And it's big in terms of the transfer window. This is big for Wrexham Football Club because it ties in well with the new SCR rules, meaning that Wrexham can spend 85% of the number that is generated from this Firefox deal. So if we were generating £10 million, that would would be £8.5 million towards the playing budget for the upcoming 26-27 season. If the number is as high as £20 million, that would allow Wrexham to have £17 million extra in the kitty as we look to strengthen the squad going into this championship season, which could be game changing. £17 million could be reinvested into 3 or 4 players, and that's the difference between, narrowly missing out on the playoffs like we did last year to potentially creeping inside that top 2. It could be big this for Wrexham, and it was so important that we moved on to bigger and better things. Of course, we appreciate what United did for the club, but we know how much the sponsors could be paying Wrexham, and we know how much we can be generating, and this looks to be a bumper deal for Wrexham. Now, if I was to give my honest opinions on this, for a first-year deal with Firefox, yes, we were in the Championship, yes, we've seen the United Airlines reaching £5 to £6 million. I would assume the number's going to be closer to 10 million than it is to 20 million. But we've learned at this football club, never say never, because we expect the unexpected at this point, and I wouldn't be surprised if they turn around and say this deal is worth £20 million and Wrexham suddenly splash the cash and sign 3 or 4 big players. So it is absolutely mesmerising. I think you go back to the days of just 10 years ago, pre-takeover. You don't even have to go 10 years, you could go 6 or 7 years, where Wrexham had Ivor Williams on the front, Peter Gwynn Potatoes, who were probably paying in the thousands of pounds, potentially reaching tens of thousands. Imagine saying this 10 years ago, and imagine speaking out to someone the numbers that Wrexham are pulling from the retail side of things. It is absolutely crazy, and one day it almost feels like I'll pinch myself and I'll wake up and it'll all be one big dream. Let's hope though that the money is spent wisely, that we do generate from this sponsorship deal, because we've seen before we can have the money. We've spent it last year, we've had a couple of misses in the transfer window. Let's hope the money is spent well in the transfer windows to get the players that we do need in to strengthen our boost of getting up to the Premier League. So overall, it's a massive deal for Wrexham. It looks as if we struck gold with this one. Firefox, it's a name that I don't think a lot of people remembered, and a lot of people definitely forgot about it in the past couple of years, but they've come out of nowhere. They've pumped the money into the football club. They believe in what Wrexham are trying to achieve, and they want to be part of this journey. And for all I'm concerned, they can have their name wherever they want if they're going to pay us £20 million in the Championship. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you surprised by this? Do you think this number, is as high as you expected, or do you think it could be held higher at potentially £20 million? But even if it is that flat £10 million fee that they are pumping into Wrexham for the next 12 months, absolutely fantastic. Let's get talking next on some transfer news. Now, this is big. This is one of the biggest links Wrexham have had in the summer transfer window so far. According to Italian source Damasio, Wrexham have reached an agreement with Fiorentina in the top tier of Italian football to sign young Argentine defender Matias Moreno in a fee in the region of £7.25 million. Yes, Wrexham are spending £7.5 million on a 22-year-old Argentine centre-back. If this one comes off, and if we see Moreno in a Wrexham shirt in the next couple of weeks, it could be a huge addition to our backline, and more than a huge addition to our backline, a huge addition to the whole squad going forward. He spent last season on loan at La Liga side Levante, where I think he did come in leaps and bounds. It was a big learning curve for him. It was a big step in his young career so far, getting that experience in that Levante side, where he did become a regular in the backline. He played 28 times and proved to be, a consistent performer in that backline. And I think it really was a key period for him in terms of his development. Of course, now we've seen him return back to Fiorentina. They obviously still don't see him part of his plans. And Phil Parkinson, we must have some scouts outside of the UK. We must be looking in these abroad markets, which I think it was about time that did happen. And especially with him being South American, there is some huge talent to come out of South America. And Matias Moreno, if Wrexham get this one right and continue his development, could be a huge signing for us. Now, if we are looking at what we can expect from Moreno, now we know what the Argentinians are like. We saw the World Cup final the other day. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but these players play with 110% commitment and 110% pride, and for whatever badge they're representing on that shirt, they will give it their all. And we want that from Matias Moreno. We want players that are coming in and playing for the badge and knowing what it means to play for Wrexham, meeting the ambition and knowing what the ambition is for this football club. And if we are looking at his attributes, we've seen Matias Moreno has been praised heavily for his ball playing skills, his ability to be that sort of ball playing centre back who can receive the ball from a short goal kick. Just watch his compilation highlights on YouTube. This man loves a dribble out from the back line. He loves making those progressive runs from inside his own box to potentially even the halfway line, finding that progressive pass into the midfield, out onto the channel. He's just a really positive centre-back, and with his ability as well to step out from the defence, it could be a huge coup for Wrexham, because we've seen how well Callum Doyle did play in that role, how well Cleworth played. If we can bring Matias Moreno into our depth and competition, it only is a bonus in my eyes. Not to forget as well, Matias Moreno is just that small height of 6'4", so he is going to be a key asset at both ends of the pitch, from set pieces, from crosses. So it's massive. It is absolutely massive. His attributes seem to tick all of the boxes for that of wanting to come into this Wrexham back line and just take us from here to here, because I think improvements are needed. Don't get me wrong, we've got a very strong back line at the moment. Callum Doyle on the left, Cleworth on the right, Hyam in the middle. If we are looking at the type of role Matias Moreno could play, I do think he could play right centre-back and in central centre-back, so that versatility potentially in that back line could be something that Wrexham do appreciate. And if we are looking at the details of this deal, Fiorentina will reportedly hold a 50% sell-on clause for Matias Moreno, which is not ideal at all, but you expect it from a South American talent, 22 years old. So what this means is, if any future transfer does happen for Moreno away from Wrexham, say if Moreno does incredibly well, gets a £20 million move to, let's say, Man City for example, Fiorentina would immediately bank £10 million. So it's disappointing that Wrexham will only receive half of the fee if he does make a potential transfer, but again, we don't want to be losing our best players. And of course, in terms of those sell-on fees, it's very common that we do see that, and especially young players, and especially players that are at their parent clubs that didn't really play much, because they'll be thinking, they didn't succeed for us, but we'll get in there, we'll be sneaking. If they do well for someone else, we can get a portion of that transfer fee. So it's expected, but let's hope he develops at Wrexham and gets us that Premier League promotion that we really, really want. Staying on the topic of signings, if we're looking at what Phil Parkinson has had to say. Now, before we get talking on that, as of today, Wrexham are the only EFL Championship side to have not made an official signing, which is absolutely crazy. 23 out of 24 clubs have got players to put pen to paper, get in their squads for pre-season, play a couple of pre-season friendlies here and there. But for Wrexham, it's all transfer rumours, it's all players being linked to the club, but no one's officially signed on the dotted line. Now, is it a call for concern? Is it something that Wrexham fans should be worried about? Of course, we jet out to America in probably about 3 or 4 days, and we've got the same squad that we had last season. We've got players as well integrating into the squad that were out on loan that have returned to the club. Do I think Phil Parkinson would have wanted maybe 1 or 2 through the door for this American tour? 100%. He'll even say that himself. He would have liked to have got early signings, but it's a waiting game. As he said in his interview, don't panic after the friendly against Manchester United in Helsinki. Now, I don't know if Wrexham fans are panicking. I'm sure a lot of fans will be, a bit worried on social media that we haven't signed one player, as we're just over 3 weeks away from our opener away at Cardiff City in the Championship. Am I concerned? I'm slightly. I would have liked to have seen, like I said, 1 or 2 players come into this squad and integrate themselves for this America tour. But with some of the names that we've seen lined up, Matias Moreno, we're going to get talking on a huge transfer target in the next one that Wrexham have reportedly proposed a record-breaking contract offer for. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. There are players lined up, there are players in the pipeline. We will see players signed for Wrexham, but whether it's tomorrow or whether it's the opener for the game against Cardiff City in the Championship, we'll just have to wait and see. So that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, make sure to get down there as well and click the red subscribe button. We're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. Until the next one, take care guys. Up the Championship Reds.